Synthetic validation. We're going to talk about synthetic validation in this video. Peace, what up, y'all? It is the guy Anti-Simp back with a new video. What is synthetic validation? Many of you know what synthetic means. We know synthetic means a person or thing acting in place or service of another, like imitation crab meat or those vegan beyond meat products in place of real meat. Some of you also know it as gassing up. Women have been trying to substitute real male validation with fake validation from each other. Now, after years of conditioning, it's starting to show more and more. It's starting to show the cracks in armor. They're now they're not getting the outcomes that they supposedly want. They're not getting the outcomes that they were told they could have. With the women, or should I say woman, who made the video about pretty privilege, there's been women making videos expressing their experiences with men or lack of interactions with men. I'm pretty sure you saw the video where a woman was talking about, they went someplace and it was all cute and dolled up and none of the men approached them. None of the men paid them any mind. This is what we're talking about. This is what the reality that women are starting to get. I was in the 2010 era to 2020 era, I was on social media, in social media groups, especially on Facebook, where I would say that the height of, actually, I'm not even going to say the height, because the height would be Instagram. I would say this is the start of synthetic validation, gassing up women who would be attention whores but were average at best, and with a little bit of validation or synthetic validation from thirst and even synthetic validation from other women, to gas them up as if they were better than the average guy. I used to be in like a Zane, like my first Facebook group was a Zane Facebook group. I used to like her books. I used to like reading her books. I thought, reading them I would have something to talk about when it came to talking to women. I thought they also liked her literature, so I had a couple of her books. And when I joined the group or whatever case it is, I noticed she had a website as well, but the website wasn't as good as the group. She couldn't take the attention, and nobody really can, really. When it comes to social media, you're not going to really draw people too far away from something. You're only going to dominate on one social media, and usually it's not your website. It's usually not going to be a website. You have to have a huge draw and a huge power to draw people from your social media to your website. Unless you start off on the website, with Twitter and Facebook and any other type of social media handle. If people start there, it's going to be hard to draw them away to something else. They have to be kind of hardcore, dedicated people. And she had a website, and I don't even remember what my profile was on her website, but I went up there to talk to people, and I wondered how come it was so dry. Where were the people? And then the people who went up there and engaged told me about the group. So I went and joined the Facebook group, and there it was. I would join and introduce myself. My name is such and such, and everything just was going so fast. It was like a big, giant chat room. And I think Facebook changed the game when it came to social media, because we were used to like chat forums or whatever. I remember my first like profile on the internet was like Mahente. And I'm glad that things have changed, because it was like a page, whatever. It was like Black Planet, and I had a Black Planet as well. But once I joined Black Planet, I look at Facebook, they are not the same. Facebook changed the game in terms of like with an internet blog, not blog, I'm gonna say forum, because the way Facebook operates is that we're all profiles on a website. And normally a website, like my website is stopsimpingnow.com. And stopsimpingnow.com. And I could create a profile up there, and whoever is the owner of the website can make people admins or editors or writers on the website. So by default, when we join a site, we're automatically people who can create content. The same thing with Twitter and Instagram. We are people who can create. We are automatically given the position of content creator when we come up there. And I guess they have the servers to handle it, because creating a social media site, it would take having your own service to handle the amount of people coming in. So that's pretty much how Facebook operates. And then like you have your own profile, and then we all create our own pages. Our pages, um, we can also, it's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but that's how it is. We are profiles up there, and then we're content creators as well. We're profiles and content creators. You can create, if you have enough friends, you can create content on your own wall, your own page, or you could have a page like how I have to stop the anti-simp. You know, that's a page, and that's a page in which I post stuff. It's just like if you go to my website right now, you will see. And I'm not trying to plug the website. If you want to go up there, you can go up there. But it's just I'm just giving you guys an example. So you can go like if you go to my website right now, I have sections like SSN, which is like Stomp Down Game. That's a page. That's a page, and then um, you can go to like blurred. Like it's a blur. It's another section of the black. It's something to do with black. I forgot the name of it. Right now I'm just, but we can all have our own pages in which we can create content on, and we can be the administrator of those on. But there's only so far that Facebook will let us go, because we'll never be in a position of Mark Zuckerberg, who's like the CEO or the uh, the big boss of Facebook. He's always going to be able to just hire people to delete our content, and we say something that they don't like. And that's how um, these group operates. The groups operate as like it's like a forum, you know. It's like a big, but it's more. It looks better, and it has grown to look better ever since I'm gonna say 2000, because I joined in 2009. I didn't really care much for it because I only joined on a phone. Oh no, I joined on a website, but I didn't know how it worked, so I didn't really pay much attention. And but as I used it more, I had gotten sick in 2011. I used it more and more, and I was able to interact with people. Then the people that added me as friends were classmates, and they didn't really talk to me like that. So I joined a group, and when I joined the Zane group, whatever cases, all the content was just there. Everybody was just, you know, she created a group. Group is like a form that's more orderly, if you will. It has more structure, more order. It has rules and stuff like that, because that's how the groups are now. So this is all new to me, you know, interacting with people, because like I said, I was sick at the time, so I was kind of out of action. I wasn't really interacting with people like that, and I like the like most people who who value like social interactions. This site allows you to do that. You know, my first night in the group, I had basically introduced myself to the group, and then a lot of the women commented and they liked my post, and then they sent me a friend request, and then we were all talking and chatting by the end of the week. Now, because I've never really met anybody on the internet in person at this time, I didn't take those type of conversations seriously. But these are all people talking about the stuff that they talk about. I spent like a whole night just looking through all the things up there, and then the next morning I was back at it, just looking around, and they were posting so much stuff in there, like pictures, posts about. They were posting posts about freaky things. They were having a bunch of different discussions, and I'm basically in discovery and exploring mode and just looking all this over. And a lot of the women in the group were posting a whole bunch of freaky things, or saying that, making nasty posts or whatever cases they were. And you're looking at their pictures, their profile pictures or whatever, or looking at the pictures that they're posting up, and it's like, damn, it's not something that you're used to seeing. Like, if I was like at a job doing security at a retail store, and the retail store is at a certain location in which it gets a lot of traffic, and let's say there's a bar nearby. Let's say there's a bar. At the bar, you're going to see like you're going to see everything. You're going to see people coming there buying condoms, or whatever they need to go, do whatever they're going to do whatever couples do, whatever people do when they're done drinking and ready to go home and get it in. You're going to see a lot of you're going to see a lot of women, and they're going to be dressed and shaped in many different styles. Like, I've done security before. I've done security environments like this. So, but when I got sick, this is an environment I wasn't in anymore. And so as I was recovering, I'm in this group or whatever, and I'm seeing all this stuff from the first time, like, in a long time. I'm interacting with a whole bunch of people all at once, and it's all in one space. I'm not trying to make excuses, but this is where the start of it goes. Not just this group, but just how groups are in general, even the smaller ones. And one thing that was interesting about the group was that we were always having discussions, and it was cool to have discussions about relationships. We all had our opinions about how things should go. And the discussions were great. But then you had situations where if a guy did or said something that the admin of the group, which was Zane, didn't like, and he was on a chopping block, basically thrown in front of the whole group and just, mocked and ridiculed for, leading women on or whatever the case is, when the women seemed to think that they were taking ownership. They thought they owned the man that they were talking to. And everybody was just in there interacting with each other. Everybody was in there just talking. And he always presented the women as if they were the victims, and the guy was like super a villain. Up until you get to talking to these guys and you get to talking to these women, and it's like, this is how the Stop Simp movement was born. Not I was joined in 2011, like before the summer, and by the end of the year, it was like December. I had gotten kicked out. I got kicked out of the group. I had made a post telling women that they didn't have the golden vagina, or didn't have the golden ticket either or, which meant the golden vagina, and they didn't like the post. And eventually, I was kicked out. They were just kicking us. There was a whole bunch of us just getting kicked out of the group. What I found interesting about it is I had joined another group, which is a male group, and they sent a snitch in there to observe what we were doing, and then that guy will report back to the women what we were saying, and then the women couldn't even properly strategize. They had to reveal to us that they knew that we were talking about them immediately on a post. But that's a different topic, or I may have already discussed it in a previous video. But this is the height of false validation. A woman will post a picture of herself, and no matter what she looked like, somebody in there was going to give her a compliment and gas her up. And then, like, it wasn't even just this group. This group was my first one, and I was kind of like addicted to reading this stuff, addicted to interacting with people in a social manner without even having to leave my house, without even having to get germs and get sick. So I would once I got kicked out, I would join other groups. I would look for other groups to join, and some of them were too small, and the interaction wasn't the same. I mean, with Zane's group, it was like 15 to 20,000 people in the group, and so it's kind of moving, It's kind of moving. She also had some situation in which She didn't even think properly because she had admins in there, but she didn't think it through properly, and she wound up losing one of her groups with like 15,000 people in there. She wound up losing it to a bunch of other girls who were fans of hers, and it was real corny. It was a real some girls who were calling themselves Soras, which is like a book. It was like a chapter in one of her books where women were calling themselves Sora, and there were all types of weird sexual names like Sora Headhuntress and Sora Sugar Walls and Sora Big Booty or whatever case. There was names like that, sexual names. Um, all damn near all of them Jones were obese. All of them Jones were obese, and they all talked and looked down at the guys in the group and said they could do better than them, and they were average Jones, and they were like that because Zane was like that. I know it was guys in the group that was joking around with her, telling her, acting like they would actually get at her, but she and many other women in that group were built like the Dragon Zord from Power Rangers. Big, maybe small, top heavy, but on the way down they were like super uber thunder thighs or omega thunder thighs and big ass guts and shit. Like the woman on the back of her books was Zane, and the woman in the groups consumed that woman on the back of the books. Like she was average looking in the book. I mean, on the back cover of the book, but in the group, she was you could look it up. You could look up her content, like the Chronicles of Zane, and she would be on the set as a director, and she's a beast looking thing. She was a big John, and I think she went through her divorce, and she got kids, or whatever the case is, and she was in the group saying a whole bunch of nonsense, a whole bunch of bitter BS. And the women in the group, followed suit. They were talking to the guys in the group as if they were better than them. And it's like, you were average. Except for her. She was like, since she was built the way she was built, she was below average looking. Some of the women in those groups were below average looking. What I find it funny was that, if a woman was like smaller than them and getting more attention, they were trying to kick her out or they were bullying her. Like there was a woman who posted a picture in the group and she had her it was gratuitous, but it wasn't nudity, and it was hating on her hard. A whole bunch of big Jones in there just hating on her. People throwing subliminal shots at each other. Like that's what social media was doing. They were fighting over the validation, the synthetic validation they were getting on social media. And it wasn't even just that group. It's just my fondest memories was that group, like my earlier memories. I would move on to other groups like Real Talk groups or, whatever other groups there was. I moved on to these groups, and whether they had 400 people in them or they had 30,000 people in it. I was in one group that almost had 100,000 people in it, so it was like at least 5 times the number that she had. And what made me laugh about the group was that I was the bad guy. They were constantly having discussions in the groups that were just ridiculous. There were women in the group trying to say that men were gay because they like having anal sex with women. You having heterosexual sex with women and you were gay because you don't like having anal sex. Or you don't like the fact that guys want to have anal sex with you. It was a whole bunch of weird stuff in there. These other groups were my introduction to the way black people were thinking in a manner, because some of them were very what's the word I want to use, because I don't know if I want to say it on YouTube. These were women who were what's the word I want to use, man? Not women. These were people in these groups who basically tried to who would say a whole bunch of stuff that were detrimental to the group. We're talking about agents or man, what's another name that we have for them? But it doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. These are people who are detrimental, who were basically the puppets of white supremacy. They would say weird stuff like that in there. You know, you had a whole. This is my introduction to feminist type women because they always used to make fun of how we type certain things. Oh, they understood your point and what you were trying to say, but they were trying to make fun of your grammar. They were always trying to talk down on you, on the guys who were making a point. Women in the group all day can say the things they like and did like about men, but anytime the guys made a post about the women, which is what we did, which is what we did in a group like Zane, which is what we did in other groups. We talked about stuff that they did that we didn't like. What they weren't used to was that the guys were starting to talk back. I'm pretty sure many guys in the manosphere were kicked out of groups and therefore they started to start their own channels. They started their own YouTube channels and were able to say the things they wanted to say, which is I'm glad to see it by now. But that's not the point. The point of it was that these groups had a ton of synthetic attention whoring, synthetic validation from women who like to be attention whores, and the pictures were always of them in various outfits and various outfits that were pretty much gratuitous. And it didn't matter what size of the group it was always women in there acting like they could do better than whoever. And despite the fact that some of the guys in the groups were way out of their league, like look at how you are built. No, you would see guys in the groups posting pictures of themselves, also in gratuitous wear, like shirtless or whatever the case is, and the women would be fawning over them, which is it's not an issue, but they acted as if they had a shot at those guys. Based off of the way they were gassed up. It was something to observe. And now you see, and for the past, let's say 5-6 years, 5-6 years, they've been for the past 5 or 6 years. I'll probably since Instagram has grown to the level it's grown, they've been. Matter of fact, let's say 7 years. 2014 was probably the year I think that Instagram was created. So you have women who've had access to Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is a lot more lenient than Instagram and Facebook. I mean, there was literally a guy that was beating his meat with a McChicken sandwich. So I'll never get that out of my head. But at the same time, last year, and earlier this year, when women were doing the busted challenge, this is a prime example of women using these platforms to get validation, because that was the point of these things. They're not posting cooking videos to get validation on their cooking skills. They're not posting them reading to their children at nighttime and having happy fun time with their children. They're posting posting pictures of themselves in gratuitous outfits. It doesn't really matter what I know. Women like to make it seem like what they say to each other really matters, but only certain things matters to them with other women. Like them being afraid of being called a pick me for wanting and needing a man. That's what they're afraid of. But in terms of that's what they care about. But in terms of real validation, they're not going to really take validation from other females seriously. That's why they keep doing weird things to their body that they don't need to do. Anyway. What is y'all experiences with synthetic validation? Have you been somebody who contributed to the validating females, or have you observed it yourself? Let me know in the comments, because this is all the time that I have for this video, and I will catch you at the next one. Peace.